Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I talk about the universe, I talk about life, and I talk about it in a new way. No one else is talking about it quite like this, but I want to talk today a bit about the moon. And again, this relates to an interview I saw recently between Patrick Bet-Davis and Dr. Greer, Dr. David Greer. I'll leave the links below to that interview. It's very long, but very good interview. If you want to understand what's going on in the world about aliens and disclosure and corruption, he talks about it and he says pretty much everything I'm saying. The only thing is he doesn't understand the science. Nobody seems to understand the science. It's still all mysterious. And even we've got these, secret agencies reverse engineering UFOs. So they've got so far, but I don't think they understand it. I still don't think they understand it. Because if you understand this science, we will be creating new technology with it. And that's what I find very hopeful. Because we're all waiting for disclosure, get out this alien technology, let's all have a look at it. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We still don't understand the science. If we did, we start again. We make new stuff. And that's what I'm talking about on this channel. I'm explaining the science behind this, how it all works. And you can only understand the science if you understand ether. Ether is consciousness. And Dr. Greer talks about it as well. He says, it's well proven. They've already studied the field of consciousness. That is a thing in its own right. He said it, you can call it spirit. Well, that's what I call it. Spirit is consciousness, is ether. It is a field in its own right. And it's the underlying field of everything. Everything emerges from the ether. But they still don't understand how it works. It's metaphysics. Metaphysics is geometry. Geometry is the secret of ether technology. You've got to have the correct geometry. And it goes right down to the molecular level. You have to have the correct geometry on the molecular level. Even the atomic level, you have to have the correct atoms. The correct atoms means the correct geometry. It's very deep, very deep. But if you understand it, we can start again. Now, again, he talks about the moon, and the question arises, did we go to the moon? Because, again, it's well proven that they faked it. It's just a movie. And if you watch this interview, he goes through it in great detail. So what I'm saying is what he's saying I agree with, essentially. That's exactly what I think is going on. So we know that they faked the moon landing, and we know that NASA is faking space. We've got mixed images from space. So the question is, why is space itself fake? No, space is real. There's enough amateurs that have looked far enough. But I believe they're faking it because there's so much stuff going on in space they don't want us to see. It's just so many UFOs and things going on. And the same on the moon. And it's exactly what David Greer is saying. So the moon is real, but they don't really want to show us that. They need two footages. One is the real footage, one is the fake footage, because they know what they're going to see, and they don't want to show it. There's so many structures on the moon, alien structures and possibly man-made structures, new and old. There's so much going on up there. They don't want us to see it. And that's the same with the space station. So much stuff going on in space, they can't risk us seeing it. Too much stuff going on. Too many UFOs flying around. But again, what he's saying is they had the technology to go to the moon back in the 50s. They're already reverse engineering UFOs back then. So they've been up to the moon in the 50s in secret, in these UFOs reverse engineered anyway. So they knew what to expect. Then later on they go up, but again they know what they're expecting, and they just have to hide it. So there's a fake version and a real version. But if you listen to the interview, you'll see how the secrecy works. It's all to do with the corruption. It's the same corruption that I talk about and how we have to beat it. But even David Greer can't see that. They still can't see it. It's government itself. You cannot have an authority structure. A higher being, a higher spiritual being, a higher wise being, they don't have these things like government. They don't have it. They don't have these things like money. This is all for lower level consciousness. They don't have democracy. We've got democracy, and we've also got the other one, total control. But it's all for lower level consciousness. Higher level consciousness don't play these games. And that's why we don't really need to fear the aliens. These are higher level consciousness. And he talks about it as well. We're being told to fear them. We need a common enemy so that we could create a one world government. That's the problem. The problem is in all this misinformation. Very hard to work out what's going on. And the same with the moon. Very hard to work out what's going on. So many far out theories about the moon. And they've all got an element of truth to them. All got an element of truth. But sometimes metaphysics has got mixed up with physics. So let me put it to you, my theory about the moon. The moon is real. It's there. And again, but what's interesting is they discovered it could be hollow. One of the missions crashed on the moon and it rang like a bell. They could hear it ring for like an hour or something. So that means it's like a solid metal, a hollow metal ball. So now that gives the idea, it's man-made or alien-made, like a Death Star. But here's my idea. It could also be made of a crystalline substance. A lighter weight crystal. So again, that reverberates. So that means if it's that, it could also be piezoelectric. So it could have some other effect. It could still be a natural formation of a crystal, or it could be, again, alien-made formation. But you see, the problem with the moon, which is why it's so amazing, it's exactly the same size as the sun. This is the thing that is so miraculous. You can have a solar eclipse. How is it that the moon and the sun are just the same size in the sky? That chance is so miraculous. It's like, that can't be by chance. That's got to be by design. Now, in an infinite universe, you can have that chance because we're in an infinite universe. But still, we're also in a universe of ether and higher beings that could have some very high technology to do some very big things. But again, it's within limits. Once you understand ether physics, you can understand what can and cannot be done. But there's plenty of stuff going on up there. And there's plenty of amateur footage of UFOs flying around the moon and flying into the moon. They also go inside. So it's something interesting going on. Plenty of stuff going on. But once you understand the nature of life, again, aliens are no big deal. No big deal at all. You see, all life is the same. All self-aware beings are essentially the same. They're all going to be humanoid. Different variations of humanoid, but humanoid. And as humanoids, we're all the same. Self-conscious beings. Souls. So it's not a big deal to be human or to be alien. And once you're at a higher level, you're an energy body. Energy body is above the physical body. So it's above being alien or being human. Being alien or human is irrelevant to an energy body. And what's interesting is the energy body is based on the ether, that is based on geometry, pure geometry. And geometry has already calculated, this is where it gets deep. Geometry has already calculated the most efficient geometry, morphology for a self-aware being, a self-aware consciousness to interact with the material world, and that geometry, that morphology is humanoid. That's why it has to be humanoid. And you can have any different variation of humanoid. But it has to follow this mathematics. It's the mathematics of perfection, the golden ratio. And it's the mathematics of efficiency. You see, because mathematics has already calculated this, mathematics is eternal. It is outside space and time. It is the field of consciousness, the ether, outside space and time. It is permanently there. That means the morphology of a humanoid is permanently there. And the material world is permanently here. Again, you've got to listen to my lectures on time and the Big Bang. It's a steady state universe, not a creation moment. Again, you have to listen to my previous lectures to really get this. But if you can get this, this will all fit into place and make sense. That means there were always humanoids present in the universe. Always. The universe is always here. The field of consciousness is always here. And therefore humanoid structures are always here. So there's always life in the universe. It's always changing, moving. It's not evolution. Again, I've talked about evolution. I'll leave the links below to my lectures on evolution. But that means aliens, humans, doesn't matter. It's always going on. It's always going on. No big deal. No big deal. And all we've got to do is understand the science of it. Then we can start building our own technology from the beginning, from scratch. And I talk about it on this channel, and I'm going to talk more and more about ideas for technology, real ones. And they'll only make sense if you can understand this ether physics. But they will be real functioning technology. But they require a different understanding of the universe, an understanding of the field of consciousness itself. Geometry is a thing in its own right. This is just geometry, nothing else. But that is doing something real. Again, you've got to look at my lectures. But I thoroughly recommend you check out this interview with Dr. Greer. I think he's the real deal. And if only one day I could have a chat with him and explain to him ether physics, he would agree with me. He would understand it. He would understand it because, again, I like him. He meditates. He realizes that aliens are higher beings. We don't need to be scared of them. We need to connect to them. And if we get the higher technology, it requires higher wisdom, and we will have a better world. So again, let me just sum up this once more about the moon, answer the questions. Did we go to the moon? Yes, we went back in the 50s, but I suspect we've probably been going a long time. Aliens have been coming here like the ancient Native Americans. They always talk about it, the star people coming. So I'm sure some of us might have been taken up there, and we may have had the technology way ago. If you look at ancient Hindu texts, the Vimana Shastras, they talk about how to build UFOs using mercury, spinning mercury. So there's very simple technology that has power. That's the ether technology, very simple. And that's what Dr. Greer talks about it. The UFOs we had were spinning mercury. And again, I'll explain that more in detail in time, how the Vimana Shastras work, the Vimanas, the ancient UFOs, and the Hindu text worked. So we had this. It's no big deal. So we must have been there loads of times. And then later on we went twice. But there is another question. How did we get through the Van Allen belt? There's a very powerful magnetic field around the Earth further out. So powerful, if we go through it, you won't survive. So a UFO will easily pass through it because a UFO has a powerful magnetic field surrounding it. It has to create this. It becomes like a superconductor and it can slip through the field. So that will handle the Van Allen belt, no problem. It will have much greater strength. But our little craft, how would it get through? Unless our little craft had some other geometry. We knew some ether physics, we knew some technology, and we created a geometry that was resistant to the magnetic field that again creates this superconductor effect. So even our basic little lunar landing, again, it looks a bit octagonal with one of these shapes, dodecahedron, something like that. So maybe it has a geometry that is in itself creating a superconductor effect that will protect the astronauts. And that's why we've forgotten it now. We don't know how they did it. That's what they say. Oh, we lost the technology to go to the moon. They haven't got it now. They've chucked it away. They've got to rebuild it. But it also means were they using this other mysterious technology that they have now forgotten and ignored. So that could be the case. And if you go further back, you see there's ancient history. So once you understand humanoids were always here, our little history of 100 years, 500 years ago, this is all modern history. We're going back to the kings of Egypt. Yeah, that's modern history. All of this is modern history. I'm interested in 100,000 years, 500,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, what was going on. There's civilizations always here. And even before the Earth might not have always been here, but there will be civilizations on other planets always here. And we're always following the same sort of pattern, because it's the pattern of the laws of ether. It's always the same, doesn't matter. And a true immortal soul will also be seeing a lot of this. They will have travelled through all these civilizations. This planet or another planet doesn't even matter. In the energy body is above the physical body. Physical morphology, alien or human, this planet or that planet, does not matter to a higher consciousness. That's why we just cannot comprehend it. We cannot comprehend a better world. We are so trapped in our money and our politics. We still believe in politics. Even this Dr. Greer talks about it. We've now got a new leader, most powerful man in the world. And he seems to be a good one. Yeah, he's uncovering a lot of corruption. He's cleaning the place up. Yeah, but he's still now, he's wielding power. He's the most powerful man in the world. It's one man given that much power. He's limited. Even if he's honourable, he's limited by the people around him, what they tell him. And what are they limited by? They're limited by what they are told by the power structures around them. Government is still bureaucracy. It's not the leader. The leader is still puppet show. Even though he's a good one, doing some good stuff, he's not the puppet master. There's more powerful things going on. It's controlled by money. Who controls the money? Bigger money people around. But we can't see past the power structure. They do whatever they like. There's enough secret projects going on. How are they operating? They're operating completely outside government. So you have a better government, but they don't know about this secret operation. The bureaucracy is a thing in its own right. Once you created government, you created bureaucracy. It's very low-level stuff. That is corruption. But that is it. You cannot have it without corruption. So I'm working on a system that can beat this. And again, it's to do with new technology. And it's still only temporary. We will need this technology because we're still low level. If we evolve to a higher level of wisdom, we won't even need this technology because there will not be corruption. Higher level wisdom, aliens, there's no corruption. It's hard to understand this. Now, not to say there are lower level energy beings that are very corrupt, but I'm talking about higher level wisdom, higher level energy beings, there's no corruption. That's why they talk about heaven. But it's the real deal once you understand the field of consciousness. The ether is a thing in its own right. And the way you play with consciousness is through geometry. And geometry manifests in many ways. It manifests in sound. Words are geometry, cymatics. And all technology is geometry. But again, I talked about it. If I look at my lectures on ancient technology, it's to do with relative proportionality. That's where the magic comes. But I think this is just to sum up this talk now. The moon, yeah, we've been there, no big deal. Is it created or not? I'm not sure. And it doesn't really matter. It just shows you need a system of perfect balance for life. And their systems are going to be all over the universe. All over. And they're all slightly different, but they're all going to have to be roughly the same. Just like we're all going to be humanoid, all slightly different, but roughly the same. Just like on this planet, we're all humans, but we all look the same, but we're all slightly different. That's it. It's all the same. All life is DNA, and all life, all consciousness follows the laws of ether. The same mathematics. And it's the mathematics surrounding the golden ratio. Geometry and proportionality. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this made sense, and I hope that answered the question to a degree. But I just recommend have a watch of that interview. It's very, very interesting, and you'll get a very good complete picture of what's going on in the world. So thank you so much again for listening, and I hope to see you in any of these other videos here.